Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet. In this session, we'll be covering the 7th verse of the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto of Srimad-Bhagavatam. Dvitiyam tu bhavayasya rasatala gatam mahim uddharishyan upadatta yagnesha saukaram vapuhu. The translation: the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices accepted the incarnation of a boar, the second incarnation, and for the welfare of the earth, he lifted the earth from the nether regions of the universe. So, as I mentioned in the previous session, there is a list of 22 incarnations. The previous session, we heard about the first incarnation is the incarnation of the empowered incarnation, Shaktya Veshavtar, Kumaras, the 4 Kumaras. Now, this particular verse is describing the second incarnation in the list of 22, the second incarnation. The second incarnation is the incarnation of the Lord as a boar. Boar, you understand? A wild pig. That's a boar. So, the Lord accepted the form of a boar. For what purpose? For the welfare of the earth. In what way did he do welfare activity for the earth? He lifted the earth from the lower regions of the universe. That is the extraordinary activity the Lord performed. And he is described as Yagnesha. He is the supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that the indication is that for each and every incarnation of the personality of Godhead, the particular function executed is also mentioned. There cannot be any incarnation without a particular function, and such functions are always extraordinary. Yesterday we heard how the Kumaras, they underwent severe austerities. They remained Naishtika Brahmacharis lifelong, and not only that, they remained Naishtika Brahmacharis, they also executed severe austerities for the realization of the absolute truth. So such extraordinary activities are not possible for any living being of this world who is conditioned by the material nature. No living being can act in this way, extraordinary way. So, the Lord performs extraordinary activities, and the specific function is also mentioned of the purpose of the incarnation. So here, it is also indicated that there is no possibility of some impostor claiming to be God while he doesn't do anything extraordinary, nor does he have any activity which is mentioned in the scriptures that he is performing specifically for the welfare of the material world. So the bogus incarnations simply are meant for cheating innocent people. The really learned people cannot get cheated, never. So the scriptures specifically mention the details of some incarnation. There is very specific detail. Now, the activities the Lord performs are impossible for any living being to perform. This is not an exaggerated statement, it's a fact that uh, when there is a disturbance in the material world, none of the devatas, none of the saintly persons, none of the rishis, nobody can solve these problems or difficulties. That is when all the saintly persons, or the chief of the saintly persons and the chief of the devatas, they go to the Supreme Lord Vishnu and pray to him. So Vishnu accepts their prayers and arranges for the problem to be resolved. So one of the ways he resolves the problem is he personally comes down to this universe from his spiritual abode, and he uh, does perform some miracle. We can say miracle. Whatever the Lord does is extraordinary. So it is nothing short of a miracle. But we don't say miracle because it is very, very common, very easy, very effortlessly the Lord does whatever he does. It's a sporting kind of activity for the Lord. Pastime is a leela. Now, the incarnation of the boar was to take the earth out of the Pluto's region of filthy matter. Bottom of the universe, not bottom of the universe, the Garbhodaka ocean, bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean. This universe is contained within a universal shell, and that shell is half filled with water called Garbhodaka. So at the bottom of that Garbhodaka, the water, bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean, this earth had been put there, thrown there. So to lift that earth out of that region, the Lord assumed the form of a boar. Because Srila Prabhupada says in the purport, picking up something from a filthy place is done by a boar. And the all-powerful personality of Godhead displayed this wonder to the Asuras. See, this was a display done to the Asuras. Why? Because the Asuras had hidden the earth in such a filthy place. They do all such mischievous activities, these Asuras. And they give unnecessary trouble to other people, saintly persons, devatas. They give unnecessary trouble. So the Lord appeared as this boar incarnation and lifted the earth from that place and placed the earth in its orbit and actually killed that demon who had hidden the earth in that bottom of the Garbhodaka ocean. There is nothing impossible for the personality of Godhead. This is a fact. For the Supreme Lord, nothing is impossible because he has unlimited strength, unlimited resources, unlimited everything. So how can something be impossible for the Lord? Everything is possible. And although he played the part of a boar, he is worshipped by the devotees. In fact, there is a temple of Varaha, the boar incarnation of the Lord, and devotees worship the Lord in that form, because that form looking like a boar is not a boar form. It is actually a transcendental form, a spiritual form, all spiritual form. Lord is always transcendental, even to the descriptions given in the scriptures. The Lord is always transcendental to all these material arrangements. He is transcendental to that. So he always stays in transcendence, and he plays the part of a boar, or sometimes the part of a fish, or sometimes the part of a half man, half lion, or sometimes a form of a tortoise. He can assume any form he wants for a specific purpose. He is the Supreme Lord. So he is not controlled by anybody. He is the controller of everyone else. He is the controller. So that being the position of the Lord, nothing is impossible for him. Now, when the scriptures describe the Supreme Lord as Yajnesha, the Lord of all sacrifices, it is through the sacrifice that the living entity, especially the human beings, they offer to the Lord some offering they make through the sacrifice, fire sacrifice. When fire consumes something, then it is understood that it is being consumed by the Lord in his form, where the fire is the mouth of the Lord. Fire is the mouth of the Lord. So he consumes, as a fire will consume whatever you put in the fire. A blazing fire will consume whatever you put in it. Same way, the Lord, as the enjoyer of all sacrifices, he actually performs certain pastimes where the activities performed as pastime has nothing to do with his original position and original activities. Those are going on without any break, without any cessation. But occasionally he comes to the material world and manifests himself and performs some extraordinary activities and goes back to the spiritual.